Hi, students. Today we are going to look at this typical exam question, and these are jump exam questions on the board. Okay, now let's dive in. Number one question is the hereditary material of the cell is that is asking us where do we have the hereditary material of the cell located. We all know that all the traits, all the family traits and characters are located inside the nucleus of the cell. All right? In the nucleus, we have the chromatin thread that condenses to form chromosome, the nucleus. Then we have the nucleus that contains the DNA. Okay. Then we also have the nucleoplasm, which is the fluid substance located inside the nucleus. Then here in the options, we have option A, the RNA. Do we have the hereditary material in the RNA? No. Okay. The major component we have in the nucleus is DNA. All right. Of course, the answer here is not protein, is not carbohydrates. Okay. The hereditary material of the cell is located in the DNA. The answer is option C. Right? The DNA stands for the oxyribonucleic acid. RNA stands for ribonucleic acid. Just as the DNA, RNA is also found in the nucleus. All right? DNA is found in the nucleus. All right? But we have some RNA located outside the nucleus, something like ribosomal RNA, which is located in the ribosome, where it is responsible for protein synthesis. All right? The DNA is the nucleic acid with the sugar known as the oxyribose sugar. That is the sugar we have in DNA. While the sugar in RNA is ribose sugar. Okay, these are typical example of monosaccharide that are not used to produce disaccharide. Okay, both the ribose sugar and the deoxyribose sugar are examples of sugar with 5 carbon atom known as pentose with the molecular formula C5H10O5. Okay, this is the molecular formula of pentose. All right. Then here we have question number 2. On what structure are the units of inheritance situated? On what structure are the units of inheritance situated? This is likely the number one question, all right? Is pointing at the same structure we mentioned earlier in question number 1. I told you that the inheritance here, which is the family traits or characteristics, are located in the nucleus of the cell. Then I made mention of chromatin thread to be one of the components we have in the nucleus of the cell. All right. And this chromatin condenses with the nucleolus and the nucleoplasm to form chromosome. All right. Now, on what structure do we have this inheritance? Okay. Option A is Golgi body, which is not the answer. Right. The Golgi body function here is to package proteins produced by the endoplasmic reticulum. The ribosome here is responsible for protein synthesis. Right? Chromosome here is formed by condensation of the chromatin thread. This occurs at the prophase stage of cell division during the late prophase. All right? The genetic materials is exchanged, and that exchange of genetic materials is what that give room for the traits to be transferred from the parent to the offspring. all right? And that exchange of genetic materials will result to genetic variations or mutation due to genes, due to changes in the gene. So thread from the parent must be transferred from the parent to their offspring without undergoing any disturbance. And this is one of the law of Grigor Mendel, the father of genetics. Right? So these threads are located in the chromosome. Endoplasmic reticulum here can produce enzymes and protein. All right? It can produce enzymes and protein. And we have two, which are rough and smooth. Smooth is responsible for the toxification of drugs. And this smooth endoplasmic reticulum is located mainly in the cells of the liver. That is where they are more concentrated. All right. Then on which structure are the units of inheritance situated? The answer is option C, chromosome. All right. The last question here is which of the following is best explanation for a child who is phenotypically short and born of two tall parents? Okay. The question is telling us that the father and the mother are all tall physically. That is their physical appearance. Okay. Which you can say phenotypically. We are not considering their gene. That is the genotype, the genetic makeup. All right. The question did not point at their genetic makeup, but they are asking you which of the explanation that is based on the options we have here on the board, which one best describe for a child who is phenotypically short and born of two tall parents. The number one option is telling you that the father possesses a gene for short. All right. The father possesses a gene for short. Option B, the mother possesses a gene for short. This can be possible, all right? But the question is asking you based on the experiment of Grigor Mendel, a popular experiment we have in the textbook and in the exam past question, all right? Which is one of the theory that lead to the discovery of the dominant trait and the recessive trait, all right? The dominant trait are those traits that expresses itself in the presence of another gene, while the recessive or the suppressed trait is the one that cannot express itself on the presence of another gene. All right. The father possesses a gene for short. The mother possesses a gene for short. Could be the reason because at a point, as the gene passed onto the offspring, there must be they can be as the gene passed onto the offspring, the gene for the short in the father or in the mother can become dominant. All right. But these are not the answers to the questions here in question number three. All right. The nature makes the child short. Option C. Can nature make the child short? No, that is not the answer to the question. This is based on the genetic makeup. Then both parents possess gene for short. If you look at the Mendelian experiment, he said that of pea plants, a tall and what? Short plant. After the crossbreeding, all right, he observed that all of the offspring are all tall. All of the offspring are all tall. Why? Because we have gene that is dominant. The capital T is for tall, while the small letter T here is for short gene. All right? All of them are tall physically. Now, listen, this one have gene for tall and gene for short, gene for tall and gene for short, gene for tall and gene for short, gene for tall and gene for short. All right. He uses pea plants, which I discussed in my handouts. Okay. I recommend you use the handout. It will help you a lot. We have so many topics in the handouts. Foundation biology. Now, here, he now allowed the plants to undergo self-pollination, and that is the reason why Grigor Johann Mendel, the father of genetics, uses pea plants on his experiment. Number one reason is because the pea plants complete their life cycle within 1 year, so as to enable him to carry out his experiment very, very fast. And the second reason is that the pea plants can undergo cross pollination and self-pollination. Now, it was on the second experiment after he asked himself, why are the first failure generation all tall? Why are the first failure generation all tall? He was now like, does it mean that the gene for short are not transferred to the offspring? And that was what led him to allow the plant to undergo self-pollination. Then he did the experiment by crossing with identical genes, where he crossed like this. All right. He observed that one is homozygous tall, then two is heterozygous tall. All right. Then this is heterozygous tall, and one is short. All right. Then instead that their phenotypic ratio here is 1:2:1. All right. After which he stated that their probability here is 25%, 50%, and 25%. That three of the offspring are all tall, but one is short. If you look at this, you will understand that both the father and the mother have gene for short. All right. So he concluded that for this to be possible, that means some traits are dominant, while some are not dominant. Then here we have only two genes for short, that the offspring here must be short. You understand? All these ones here are tall genes, and this one is homozygous tall because it comprises of identical alleles for tall. These two here are heterozygous tall. The capital T here represents the dominant gene because it expresses itself in the presence of the other gene, while the small letter T here represents the gene for short, and that is recessive because it was not able to express itself on the presence of another gene. So here, the phenotypic ratio becomes 3:1, and the probability here becomes 50 plus 25 will give you 75. Then we have 25% for short and 3 and 75% here for tall. And that is the Grigo Mendel experiment using pea plants. I described this in details in the handout I introduced earlier. All right. So here in the question, the answer is option letter D. The both parents possesses gene for shorts. That's the answer, and that is based on the concept of Grigo Mendel experiment on genetics. Okay, this is all we have for now. Thank you, and God bless you. Please don't forget to subscribe and share a link to your friend. The video will help you a lot in your